And now I know you're a writer as well. That makes it more
Yeah.
interesting to me.
All right. So let me ask you my first question. So On a Woman's Madness was originally published in 1982. And can you talk about how you felt about the novel around the time of publication and what your relationship to it is now?
Well, to tell you the truth, it's a long, long time ago. It's about 40 years ago when I started writing The Madness, okay? And I've been in my, let's say, my mid-20s, so pretty young. And for the first time, all alone in Holland. And it was a strange experience because writing The Madness, I mean, the main character is just 18 years old. And at the end, she's about, let's say, maybe 30. So there are different time layers in the novel. And I can't remember anything specific, but what I do remember is that the novel came out. I received my 5 copies, and nothing happened because I've been a stranger in Holland. I was a person not interested in reading newspapers and magazines, and I did not know anything about the scene, the literature scene in Holland. So it took some time for me to feel something about my novel is there in the public sphere, okay?
Yeah.
And now, after reading it um, last Sunday for the first time after about 40 years, it really shocked me. It was like, like, is this me? Is this whole thing about this and that? I've been like 25, 26 years old. So I've read it like a sort of poetic writing. But, I felt a little bit shocked about the story.
What do you admire about it now that you have the distance?
Well, that I must be thankful about this first publication of mine in Holland, because that's when the whole thing started with me to be a professional writer, okay? And what I like about it is that some people still send me emails saying, this is my the best book of my life. I still have it at bedtime, etc. So I must like it. And the other thing is that the main force in the novel, now that I'm older, and there were other novels, now that I'm older, I feel that the main force in my novel was, at that time, when I was that young, is still with me, is still helping me to do what I'm doing, and that's writing new novels. And the thing is that looking for, you may say, maybe, what about, is it possible for a woman to be happy, for a Black woman to be happy? But it is a sort of, is it possible for a person, for everybody, to be safe in this world, on this planet? Is there a certain kind of safety? Because Noenka, the main character, wasn't looking for love or for sex or money or adventure or looking for a husband or a house or whatever. She was looking for safety, peace of mind, something that makes her feel, let's say, happy. And then came she went through all these habitats, and
Yeah.
someone will say she was swaying around. No, we all do the same. Every time when we're in a certain habitat, you have to look for what is making me feel good here, and
Yeah.
who and how. And that's an old Darwinian thing too. It's the surviving of the fittest. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you grab something that's good for you and helpful, even though the habitat is horrible. You're looking for the best in it to fit in and to stay safe, and then to remove and to another habitat. And that's what
Mhm.
we're still doing all the time. So that's the feeling about my first novel.
And Astrid, I know I'd sent you questions in advance, but I'm going to ask you a follow-up. So I'm also just saying that so Lee's ready, just in case you need
Yes,
a
okay.
little bit. I really like how you're using the word habitat here, because I think so often as people, we ignore how much our surroundings and how much we fit into like the levels of them actually do impact our happiness. We kind of have this idea that, well, if I can't be happy here, I can't be happy anywhere sometimes. And now that you're talking about your novel like this, do you see some of the characters that sorry, I got startled by that sound for a second. But do you see the different people as habitats too? Like Ramses and Gabrielle. Do you see them as habitats, your main character?
Not like habitats, but part of their habitats. One of
Okay.
the questions you sent to me
Yeah.
is about what kind of literature you've been reading while writing Noenka, okay? The
Yeah.
Madness. And no novels, but my hobby is cosmology, biology, and related science, okay? And
Yeah.
I've been reading that all the time, being alone all by myself in a beautiful apartment somewhere in Holland. And my lover was a diplomat, so he was working all the time. And I've been there. And by reading these cosmology things, there was this
Yeah.
thing called quantum. And this was the time where there was these many worlds fused, okay?
Yeah.
And what they call many world views or different dimensions is what I call my habitats. They are all around. Some of them we don't even see, but
Yeah.
they are there. So when you look at Nunca, her habitat when she was like a child, she was in the habitat with her mom, very soft and stable and happy. And then there was some ounce were coming to her mother, and some ounce were okay. That's one habitat, but the others were not, or the sounds in her mother's voice. And she knows when somewhere in a certain habitat it wasn't okay. So these other characters aren't habitats, but they are just characters. Can you hear me? Is there something?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You cut out
Okay.
very briefly, but don't worry, you're back.
Webinar chat, post, type your message here. No, I don't have a message.
Astrid, can you hear me?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Yeah, you're here. Don't worry.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm trying to think of where you were when I last heard you. And you were saying that they weren't habitats.
No, That's what you hear.
Yeah.
Did you hear
And
the rest?
I heard the rest. Don't worry. It was wonderful. And you're giving me a lot to think about.
But may I say something more?
Yeah, of course.
It's just the way this physics, this cosmology is talking about other dimensions, and but some are with us, but we can't see them because they are too small. Okay, but they are around. That's a metaphor for me to look at the different habitats Noenka must go through till she found her place where she felt completely at ease. Okay?
I love that answer. And now I'm going to be thinking about that all day. Okay. So are there things in the book that you're still considering as a writer in terms of craft or book or themes of it? What do you think persists now in your writing career from On a Woman's Madness to even today?
May I ask you to to reformulate the question? Okay,
Yeah.
please.
Yes, definitely. So let me give you more context. I think that for a lot of writers, we have persistent questions or ideas that they maintain a career. They help us keep interacting with the world and being creative. And sometimes those are questions of themes or ideas, like, can a woman be happy, or can a Black woman be happy? And sometimes it is also issues of the craft of fiction itself, in terms of like trying to master a type of point of view or a style. And do you think there are roots in On a Woman's Madness that you still see today in your work?
Okay, yeah. Thank you. One is the thing, how it feels to be a woman. And then the other thing is how it feels to be Black in the world. Not especially a Black woman, but being colored in the world they call white, okay? And the other thing is that I love languages, and the wonder of making a novel, making a world with words, and giving something to the world, giving like a bird view. Every time I finish a novel, my readers will get a bird view of something very special, something I just can't articulate in a piece of poetry or in an essay. I need to write the novel. And I love, and the wonder about working with language is that I am a Dutch writer, and Dutch is the language of my colonial country, Holland, and it was very important for me to know where every word came from. So I had lots of dictionaries, all kinds of dictionaries in my library, because I know that words are full of history. And I didn't want to transport the painful things of history through my stories. I wanted to clean the words, to be free from stereotypes. Let me say it that way, okay? And that is since The Madness of a Woman. That's where it started. Because when I started writing it, to tell you the truth, I didn't know that I was that lonely. I've been there for the first time all alone in Holland. And I used to be in Suriname with my lovely and sweet mother and my two sisters and my brother and my girlfriends. And
Yeah.
this feminist thing, this feeling with womanly things, feeling safe and okay. And then I've been there alone, all by myself. And I wanted it because I loved the guy much. And his friends were all men as well. So I missed that feminine thing. And I think my brain let me go and write a novel to be with women, to feel connected, okay, to comfort myself as well. And that's why what I liked about it when I read it on Sunday, I never felt like that after the novel was out. But it's a happy ending. It's a happy ending because as messy as her life, the circumstances, the habitats were, at least she found somebody she fell in love with. And that person loved her as well. Gabriel loved her. So what's better than to love and to be loved? And the nice thing about it is that she went together at the end. But the best feelings about love, I'm speaking for myself, is to wait for someone you love. She's coming home or he's coming home, even if it's your children, my mom waiting for her children, it's a happy feeling. Even if you buy some sort of furniture and you love it and you're waiting for it to be delivered at home, it's a great feeling to wait for something you love or someone you love. So it's a happy ending. And that kind of um, being with women and asking questions about what is it to be a woman nowadays, and what is it to be Black, and what is it to speak Dutch or a sort of English. What is it? What is this whole thing about? And how is it possible for us, for me, to be safe and a sort of, listen, happiness is not a stable thing. We know now that happiness is not stable. It's a feeling, and feelings are going in and out, etc. But feeling safe isn't that stable as well, because even your husband or your son or your daughter can do something to make you feel unsafe and unhappy. Okay, so it is the relationship between us. And when I say us, I think about this phrase about love. Love is not love is not a word. Love is a thing to do, or it is something to say. And we don't grab it because we don't really know what it is. And that's the beautiful thing about it. And that's why I'm saying that about the madness, on the woman's madness, is a piece of poetry. It's about love. But when you write poetry, I know when you write a poem about love, don't use the word love. Just write something, and people may read it and feel that something about love. Is that an answer you can live with?
That is. It's a wonderful answer. I like how you phrased that too. Yeah, I could live with that forever. You're giving me so much to think about, Astrid.
Thank you.
What is your process like for writing novels? Are you someone who writes every day? Are you someone, how do you do it? How do you do the work?
You're young, and I like to hear that you're a novelist as well. Well, writing is something. I'm 75 now, okay? I started writing when I've been about 15 years old. So always, somehow my brain is always in a state of mind, a state to write. And not that I'm looking at the world as being things to write about. That's not the case. But I know I'm a professional writer, and there are still things driving me to write, things I want to share with the world. And 3 weeks ago, my last novel came out, Dealer's Daughter. And what I'm trying to do, as soon as the novel is there in the public, I want to get rid of it. I don't want to think about it anymore. I don't want the characters to be with me. It's like a sort of child. Of course, I still love the novel, but, and it will hurt me. People can use the novel to hurt me too, but it's not mine anymore. It's part of the world, okay? And then I try to free my mind from the languages, the sort of language I used. I try to free my mind of the characters and the atmosphere and everything. And then ask me, do you write every day? Well, not really, but I am busy with language every day. Let me put it that way. And I like to write in my mind. So when I'm not really physically writing, I am thinking about characters, and I'm thinking about languages, and I'm thinking about how to express something like mourning. My mom died 2 years ago. And is there a way to express my feelings about the fact that she isn't here? But and how to deal with the circumstances, things like that. So how to put it into words, you know? So
Right.
I'm busy with writing all the time, yeah. And I like to read something beautiful as well from other writers.
Yeah, I think especially for early writers who are just getting started, they feel like it has to be every day.
No.
But it really doesn't. And especially reading, and the way you put it, every day you deal with language. That's
Indeed.
writing.
But let me tell you something, Megan, because
Yeah,
I'm
tell me.
pretty very much older than you are. I had this lover, and he very much loved me because of my writing skills, okay?
The
And
dream.
yeah. And I've been like 18 when we met, and he was 20
Yeah.
years older. And he told
Mm.
me this. He said, Astrid, listen, I take care of you, but I want you to do one thing every day, 2 pages, write 2 pages. It doesn't matter what,
Yeah.
write 2 pages. And that's what helped me to be a real writer. It structured my brains, you know. So
Honestly, that would have structured my brain if someone had made me write 2 pages every day at 18.
Of course, because it's just like a violist or a pianist. You have
Yeah.
to try to get grip of the how do you call it, the graft. You know, when you write every day 2 pages, two things happen. That there is something in your brain which makes you write, and there is this experiences you get on the way by writing every day. Okay.
Yeah.
And because I had that habitat, when I started to write about the madness, on the madness, I could go on till 20 pages. And after that, I knew there is a novel coming. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's go further into the novel now. Oh, 1 second. Looks like you're frozen. Astrid, can you hear me? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. All right. So let's get more specific now about On a Woman's Madness. So for me as a reader and writer, one of the most interesting things about your novel is the firm control you have when marrying language to emotion. And to hopefully give more context here. So often it feels like your language is contained and orderly when you're writing scenes and building them. I just messed up her name, but Noenka is in a moment with another character. And when you move directly to her narration, when you're inside her mind and she's alone, the language is so lush and engaged with the world. How did you find this character's voice?
It's pretty difficult to answer such a question, but I will give it a go. You know, a novel is language, and characters are made of language. Even though we try to make like fictional, physical people, it's all language. So when there is a character, and this character is in a specific habitat, and it's important for me to know what this character wants to express. And its expression with language means what kind of words, what tone, how long are the sentences, things like that. And
Yeah.
those things are specific and very important for me. Okay. And it's strange to say, but I always laugh to myself when there is this phrase in somewhere in the Bible when they said, and then the gods want to make people, and they want the people to look like them. And when we're writing, we're certain kinds of gods, okay, and we're making people, fictional people from a language, and we want the people to look like us. And us is, to me, is the whole human race. And I need to in every person, every character must have a specific thing to deal with. And it takes a long time for me to figure that out. That's the most difficult part of making a writing plan for a novel. Who are the characters? Where are they from? How do they speak? What kind of language? What is their driving force, etc. And then there is this driving force from me, because
Yeah.
And that's what I'm telling them when they come to my workshops. Listen, baby, if you want to write a story, maybe it's better. Maybe it's better if you go and make a video and you tell the story. Because writing is a lot more than telling a story.
Mhm.
It's something about language. Okay, so there is a difference between, and in Noenka, in about the matters of a woman, people they were like speechless. What kind of language is this? And this
Yeah.
is our Dutch, and this Dutch is so clean, it's so sweet, we love it. And that's the thing about writing. So it's not just telling a story. It's no storytelling. It's writing. It's making it's making something new with old languages.
Yeah.
Okay?
One of the things in your answer, and Lee, this is off script for a minute, but it's a follow-up, is you mentioned the length of sentences and the tone help you also establish characters. And I've never heard another writer say that so clearly, that it's about the length and also establishing tones. And can you just talk a little more about that idea of the length of the sentences also helps you know a character?
Maybe I have to turn the question over by saying, I am the one creating a character, and I
Yeah.
am the one knowing why this person needs to have long sentences or short sentences. Okay, sometimes.
Mhm.
And it's writing is a very intellectual and mental thing. Okay,
Yeah.
it's more about that than about feelings. We construct feelings by being mentally there, rational there. And for an example is when Noenka was somehow somewhere with her daddy,
Yeah.
and her daddy and her mother had this deep conflict about cultural things. Okay,
Mhm.
she was okay, and then he for the first time he told her something he never spoke about with other people. And when you
Yeah.
look at the text, you see how it flows, how it how it how it renders. And that's a matter of, maybe it's because more than languages, if I ever die and someone will ask me, what will you miss when you're somewhere or nowhere? What will you
Yeah.
miss from this world? Songs, songs, songs. And songs is they are made by people, but the voice is natural. Okay,
Yeah.
and um, and a novel and a speech or a story or a dialogue, it's like a song. It's not only the words that we use, even though I like to clean up my language, but it's more what you hear. What, because it's a word is a house, is there's something in there. And that thing that I want to that it come out to people, that is what I want. And that's why I like songs so much. Okay,
Yeah.
do you feel a little bit what I'm trying to say?
I do. I think that when you said a word is a house, I understood you completely there,
Okay.
and also feel sure that if you keep saying that, someone's going to make a t-shirt or a bookmark of that and start selling it to people because it's perfect.
Yeah, and Megan, let me tell you something. An example. An example is it's not a popular, or it is a popular example. Is this?
Mhm.
Every word black, the word black in Dutch is always in a negative context. I don't care about it. And white is always in a positive context. So
Mhm.
I don't care about it. As long as you don't call me black. You know what I mean? As soon as you
Yeah.
call me a black woman, you're projecting the whole history of negativity that's in the word black. You're projecting it on me, upon me, and in me. And I don't
Mhm.
want it. And it's the same with white. So what I'm trying to say is, what I'm trying to do with my language as well is to bring these connotations up to a level where people can feel and see that they are old stereotypes, but we have to get rid of them. Okay?
Right.
And so are other things regarding to women or children or rich people or poor people. Our language is full of stereotypes. Our language is like, it's full of history.
Yeah. I think the way you put that too, it shows just also the difference. Where in the US, like I think that there's kind of the opposite sometimes, where we have like black is matter of fact sometimes for Black writers, where we say it and there's no, it's not just like a pride thing. And then the minute you start mentioning that a writer is a white writer, it's like, uh-oh. Like there's kind of a different reaction that I think is happening right now, because so often in the US we don't name whiteness, we only name blackness.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
and yeah. After this novel, On a Woman's Madness, Toni Morrison came to Holland with Tar Baby, translated into Dutch, okay?
Yeah.
And this Dutch professor, Hannemiek Stamperius, she died 3 months ago. She was a feminist
Mhm.
and a writer, novelist. She asked me, she called me and said, I want you to meet Toni Morrison because I had a chat about you with her. And I met Toni Morrison, and Morrison looked at me and said, Astrid, let me tell you something. If you were a writer in my country, they have killed you. No life for you. So it was a compliment and it was pretty scary.
Yeah.
Okay?
I understand why she would say that after reading your book, especially when it was published. I think that you're so straightforward about so many things. And for so long in our country, we've been asked to kind of write around the issues between being Black in a white space. And now there's finally this renaissance of writers doing it. But for so long, in some ways, the only way you could get published as a Black writer was also you only write about Black spaces.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And that's the thing. That's the thing I've been talking about with Toni Morrison, because she she told me, oh, she's a great, she's my favorite. I loved her so
One of
much.
mine too.
Yeah. And she told me, Astrid, you know, I will not take time to make a nice white character, because there is in our country so much to do to make great Black characters. There's
Mhm.
so much stuff. going on, okay? And I said, and she said, I don't have the feeling to do it. I can't feel it, so I will not do it. And when I visit the US, and I stayed there for about 3 months, it was, to me, it was like inspiration, but a horrible experience to feel and to see the gaps between ethnicities. And it hurts me a lot. But because that's not the case in Holland, there are other problems and things between ethnicities, but not in that sharp, hard way. Like I've been with my mountain bike, a new mountain bike, going for a ride, and then all at once, police cars around me. What are you doing here? I'm just, I like to be here. I like to look at it. I'm just having a ride on my, and then, no, my friends told me, it's a white neighborhood and you can't be there. So things like that are strange to me, but by writing, because I believe that we must go on articulating this sort of experiences and things, and we must try, and the only way to get over it is not by using the stereotypes to communicate with each other, but to be with each other. It's the only way to stop it. It's the only way to get rid of it, okay? And it's so easy to use a stereotype about a woman. When I heard about Pierce, okay, let's say, the name Pierce is not a feminine name to me. So when there was this Pierce, Ter Pierce, I immediately thought it must be a man. Wrong. It's a woman. So there are all these stereotypes in our minds. We have to get rid of those.
Yeah, I think you're right. So I'm going to briefly go, because we have a Q&A question. And for all of you who are here, I'm happy to read them off as long as they're polite, but all of the ones in there are so far so great. And then if we have time, I have a few others for you, Astrid, but I think this group has some things to ask you as well. So this one, I'm going to go to the second one first because it's a little more naturally off of the conversation we're having. And then I'll go to the first question, which is, and this is from someone named Nathan. I'm struck by what you said about Blackness and negativity, as well as whiteness as positivity. Do you think this is why there are so few Afro-Dutch or Dutch Caribbean writers available in English translation?
Break it a little bit for me, Megan.
Yeah, I genuinely don't know if you'll be able to answer this one. I don't know how much you know about like the translating business. It might be more of a question for Pierce or Lee, actually, but he's asking you to weigh in on whether or not you think that like these ideas of race and how they're used in language and in your country, if that is also impacting the way that maybe these writers such as yourself aren't getting translated as much into English.
Well, in the Caribbean, they speak English, and lots of Caribbean writers, they write in English or in French, but it's only the Suriname part and the Caribbean, the small Caribbeans like Curacao, we speak Dutch. And of course it's horrible that my novels aren't in English. It's horrible. It's painful. That's why I'm so grateful. I'm so happy that we started with On a Woman's Madness. And it is true, maybe that is a reason why it took so long.
Yeah,
Maybe that's the reason. Because Toni Morrison told me, listen, I use your paragraphs of your novels in my teaching, but there was not a complete novel, never, ever. Okay, and maybe that's one of the reasons, because I am so outspoken about things. Like I've been in Scotland on a festival, and a professor told me, said, you're talking about things, you're writing about things people want to put under the carpet. They don't want to hear it, they don't want to feel it, they don't want to talk about it. So it's true, yeah.
I think that's true. And I also think in general, there isn't enough money being given toward translators or translation work too, which is also kind of the other big shame, is that the people who do the work don't get paid enough.
Okay, that's
But
a thing.
it's mostly what you're saying, but also that too here.
You're a rich writer. Do you earn a lot of money when you write? Not yet.
Do not.
Okay. Maybe
I mean, it would be incredible if I did.
Yeah, maybe it will come. But it's true. We are, it costs a lot of money to translate. Yeah, that's all the reality. And that's making some Surinamese writers mad, really mad, because their books aren't selling well. And let me tell you something, Megan. You know what?
Yeah.
It is so great to find yourself back in novels. It's such a helpful, it's such a wonderful thing. So remember, white people are finding themselves all the time back in novels. We don't.
Yeah.
So it's very painful. So I'm so happy when there is a novel. Sometimes it's written by a white person. But I'm so happy when there is a novel, so now and then, where I am there in the pages, like Latin American, like Gabriel Marquez, etc. You know, because it's like heaven. It's like heaven.
Yeah.
And it really, no, we must try to bring this thing further. And I'm so happy that there are many young women and Black women and men go on, write. Even though there is this, you know, I'm so scared now, scared because of this whole chat AI thing coming on, the people collecting pieces of texts and making stories. And so I hate it now.
Yeah.
Maybe because I'm old, but I hate it. But please, young people, especially if you're from a certain ethnicity, please go on, write good novels, write good sort of poetry. Please go on, because not only Black people, but white people also needed to find Black lives in literature, because reading white writers and the lives of white people make me understand white people better and better and better, okay?
Yeah. I mean, your novel means so much to me right now, but I also think that if I'd been able to pick it up and read it when I was 20, it would have changed my whole writing life to be able to read a novel like this at 20.
Why?
Let me ask, because of just seeing a Black woman go through these things, and also your language and the richness of it, where I think a lot of the books that, especially when I was in my 20s, there were a lot of wonderful Black books, but they didn't experiment like your work does. They were often well written, but they didn't take risks. And on A Woman's Madness, there are so many questions in the chat that we probably won't get to all of them, but they do talk about the way you use fragmentation or symbolism. And that's what I was so desperate to read, was books that were both Black and also experimental in a way, or trying new things. And now I'm happy I get to teach this book. It's here, but it took too long. Let me ask you at least one of these.
Let me make somebody a compliment, because
Yeah,
the color purple is like that.
it is.
It's a special text. It's so special about the whole thing you were talking about. And the novel from Toni Morrison, it's always with me, is Sula, her first novel.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I think the color purple is, I've kind of fallen away from that book for many reasons, but yeah, it was in that space, but this one
It's in that space, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the very first question you got asked is from Greg, and he says, Astrid, can you please talk about some of the symbols and images in your book, like the snake and orchids? They're so captivating. And he also thanks you for the beautiful conversation.
Thank you too. Glad you're here. Well, the snakes and the flowers. Suriname is part of the Amazon rainforest. And even though it may look like a country, it's just a stroke of nearby the sea, by the ocean, and the rest, 96%, is the old Amazon rainforest. And the old Amazon rainforest is a rainforest with lots of horrible life. Okay, so when some of the slaves, so-called slaves, try to escape the masters 300 years ago, they ran to the rainforest. And in the rainforest, they had to find a way to deal with snakes. It's still a problem to find teachers to go and teach the children in the rainforest because of this kind of things, okay? So you can't write a novel, you can't write about going into the rainforest and don't let this reality comes out. You can't do it. And some people like to read it as being a sort of symbol. It's about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, I know, but it's all about the rainforest, and it's all about the way Black people, like the so-called slaves, tried to deal with snakes and big cats and strange smelling flowers, and try to give them a place in their minds.
I love that answer. And I think we have time for one last question. And I want to thank everybody in the chat for how good the Q&A is. And hopefully you cannot hear too much of the road work. It just got a little louder at the very end. But so this last one is is Astrid, thank you for this book. My grandmother was born in Suriname, and I know this novel tells the stories of so many women who never had the chance to tell their own. What was the response from your family and your community when the novel was published? And also, is that birds we hear? And are they whistling birds, and do they compete?
Oh, oh, my family. Oh, my family. Thank you for the question. No, my family still don't like me being a writer. Not I mean, the younger ones, not older than, let's say, 30, they like it. But like my mother and her brothers and her sisters and their children, they didn't like it. It was like, why is she telling stories like, you know, on a women's madness or others? Why is it? And because I lived in Holland, they catch all the critics, because writing like this in my own society here in Suriname, people are still they don't read, they don't have money to buy novels, they don't like books, they like music, their own music, and they're making their own texts. But there's not enough a sort of affection for us and our work. The affection is in Holland, but not here in Suriname. I'm now in Suriname. So no, the family, no. They now, maybe after the awards, they try to smile about it now.
And then the final part of that question, are those whistling birds, and do they compete?
Whistling birds. What is there a sort of, what is the meaning of that?
I don't know either.
What whistling birds?
I think they're asking about the squeaks and the bird calls on your side. Do you have birds?
Oh, lots of. Yeah. My doors open to the balcony and to outside, and there are lots of birds coming now here and having their their doings. Yeah, I love birds. I love songs. So I love to listen to water, to the trees, the wind in the trees, and to birds. And I love songs. I love the sound of living. I love when people speak, when people,
Hi, everyone. I really hate to end this. I could listen to you all for hours. Thank you so much, Astrid and Megan and Lee. We really appreciated having you on deck. But this was so powerful and beautiful, and we're very honored here. I know that, Astrid, this is your very first Zoom event. And so we are just kind of over the moon to have hosted you, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thank you very much. I'm not nervous anymore.
I'm glad I got to meet you,
Thank you,
Astrid.
Megan. Thank you, Megan. And all the best to you.
You
It was
too.
wonderful to meet you.
And please go on, write beautiful novels, okay?
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. They were incredible, and your engagement in the chat. This has been a very special hour. I'm very honored to have spent it all with you, and goodbye.
Thank you all. Bye.